There we go. So, welcome to everybody who's here so far, and welcome to those that haven't been able to come along at the time that we are holding this. And I hope you're going to find this very, very useful. My name's Mark Wingfield, as you can kind of read from the display there. And I'm going to take you through something called havening. It's all about putting people in a safe haven. And this has been specially developed to help with people that help you and anybody that you might know who has a challenge with keeping hold of stuff that you perhaps don't need to hold on to anymore for whatever reason that might be. And so it was inspired by Kim, who's on my screen, is alongside me. So thank you, Kim, for kind of inspiring me to do this. And we're with each other for an hour and a half, and I'm going to take you through various things. Please do ask questions. If I get a flurry of questions, I might have to park them and we'll come back to them later. But because there's only a small group, then we could probably answer them as we go. But the plan
I,
is,
I
sorry,
think we're probably going to have a couple people joining us. So
okay,
we're not the best at being on time sometimes. So I would expect a few people to come in a little late. Sorry about that, but
okay, all right,
it's the way we roll. A lot of us have, some executive functioning issues and ADHD, and
yeah,
we're not the best at being on time. So
okay. Well, the lovely news is that havening helps with all those as well. So we're going to talk a lot about havening and applications. So they kind of go nicely together. Now I've got somebody called Sophia joining us. So
yes, that's the one I'll pay for after the class.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And
She's my co-admin for my group.
oh, right, lovely. Welcome, Sophia, if you've arrived. Um, so I
Greetings,
can't.
everyone.
Hi, buddy.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Hanging in there.
Yay. So
All right.
Sophia's camera isn't working. I wish it was so she could participate, but she'll
Oh,
participate from her home.
okay. All right. Well, I'm going to start, and if people join us, then that's great. But everybody
Okay.
will get access to the recording anyway, so don't worry about missing out on anything in particular. So, um, can you see the screen which says hoarding help? Hopefully, you can see that. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, fabulous. All right. And there's probably a little image of me in the corner, perhaps a few of us in the corner. So that's hopefully the way it's going to record. Okay. All right. So I'm a certified trainer and practitioner in this lovely thing that we call havening, and that's what today is going to be based around. And just to give you and set a few expectations of today, um, this is where I would like you to be in some shape or form by the end of the day. Not a kind of crazy grin, but a nice, relaxed, smiley face. All right. I hope that by the end of this, you'll feel a little bit lighter. And if you need to, you can come back to the recording again to use some of the methodology that we use to again appreciate the calm and sense of peace and tranquility that you can achieve very quickly when you need to with havening. And alongside that, you'll find that the emotional distress that might be felt around any issues to do with holding on to possessions or things that you need to keep. There might be some somatic feelings, some things in the body that go along with that, some maybe tension in the throat or the chest or the stomach or whatever it might be. Hopefully, you'll find that they may ease as well. So, we'll be providing some ways and means of how to deal with things in the future as well. So, how to handle current things that might pop up. And there's a few kind of approaches that I'll touch on today that'll help with that. And seeing the video again later, being able to use the techniques later, you'll be able to recreate the sense of calm I trust at any time that you need to. So I'll talk about applications of havening and where it can be used. And so it doesn't have to just be around an issue of hoarding, for example. So the lovely thing is that you're in charge. You might not feel as though you're in charge sometimes. You might feel as though you're kind of pulled along by events. But Havening will give you the opportunity to be able to make some judgments of your own without being overburdened by emotional distress. So to free you of emotional turmoil that might be driving particular behavior that you're not finding particularly helpful at the moment. So hopefully you'll be empowered to reduce drivers of behavior and reduce stress that's associated with that, and be able to be a little bit more resilient about things that might come up in the future. So we'll work on that. And a little bit about havening itself. It's a very natural process. So we're actually working with how the body works, which is electrochemically. And I'll talk a little bit about where havening came from later on. But all we're doing, this is all, it's not kind of some freaky sideshow that's going on. This is actually natural approaches, and I'll explain a little bit more about that as we go through. We can actually heal ourselves in a huge way. So we're just going to tap into that innate ability to do so. So this slide here is, that's me on the right, if you don't recognize me there. That's a lady who kindly allowed me to apply Havening Touch. And Havening Touch is integral to what we're going to be doing. And so in her instance, she gave me permission to put my hands on her shoulders and just gently stroke down the shoulder, arms down to her elbow, lift up, go to the top and back down again. And that's a very, very common form of Havening Touch. But the good news is you don't have to have a bald bloke like me apply it. You can do it easily by yourself. So all you do, if you want to have a little go right now, is put one hand on one shoulder, one hand on the other shoulder, and just gently stroke down to about your elbow, lift off, go to the top and back down again. And about the speed that I'm doing it at the moment as well. So the touch and the feel is just a light tension. It's not heavy pressure. It's not sort of really pressing down. It's just a light touch. If you think about maybe rolling dough in a, you're making preparing to bake a cake or something, or you've got some Play-Doh instead. You could roll it in your hand as well. That's another way of doing it. So if you put your hands together, putting your palms together like that as well is a very easy way to apply what we call Havening Touch. You could do it like that if you feel more comfortable. And if you have a desk or something in front of you, that's really easy. Just plonk your elbows down and apply touch like that. And the third type of Havening Touch, and if you're wearing glasses, you may want to take them off at this point, but you don't have to. You can touch just under the eyes there, just gently stroke under the eyes. You can stroke the cheeks, just from about your ears down to your chin, just in a slow fashion like that. Or you can go across the forehead like that. You can even make a little heart shape. Some people like to do that with your fingertips going around from the forehead like that. So what have we done there? We've done an electrochemical change to the body. You might not feel like it yet, but actually what you were doing is generating something called a delta wave. I'll come back to that later as to why that's important. But think about all three of those actions. When you were small, maybe you might have fallen over. You were a little bit learning to walk, maybe. You fell over. Somebody might pick you up and go, there, you'll be okay. So what we're doing is replicating things that we do quite naturally. So this is a nice soothing feeling. So that should feel quite nice and comfortable. Equally, you might wake up in the morning one day and go, oh my goodness, you've got so much on. And again, what we're doing is we're pacifying. We're just gently calming our system down by doing that. When you see people going, that's interesting, we're self-soothing. That's what people are doing. And so we've done the arms and shoulders, we've done the face. What about the hands? Well, the hands, what do we do when we're nervous? It's called wringing the hands. But actually, what's important is putting the palms together. The backs of the hands don't make any difference, actually. But the palms, when they're active and you're stroking in that sort of fashion, or you can go like that, as I was saying earlier, it's just a nice calming thing. So it's a very natural, soothing approach. So all we do in Havening is we try to be as gentle as we can, make it as fast as we can to help somebody in distress. And it's absolutely essential that you apply touch. So if there's anybody that can't apply touch, there is one alternative, and that's following your finger with your eyes. So if you can't apply touch yourself, then I suggest you do that, or perhaps you can get somebody else to apply touch to you that you know and love or trust. So there are some other options, but I recommend that you do it by yourself and learn how to do it by yourself if you can. Maybe one arm isn't as mobile as the other, so you use one arm rather than the other, but you can use both together. You can even do a little movement here. That's quite nice as well, just between the eyebrows. If you find the movement on the face or the arms a bit too much, you can just do that. Some people find that really, really soothing. Whatever suits you, but it's really important when you're doing Havening that you apply one of those primary approaches. So arms and shoulders, hands, or to the face. That's why when you see a Havening logo, you'll see a hand and the brain, because we are making an impact on what we call the amygdala, the emotional center of the brain. So hopefully that's all nice and straightforward. And we're doing it to get this resilience, restore balance, to calm our nervous system down, and talk a little bit more about the biology and what goes on later. But why is it called havening? Well, because we're putting people in a safe haven. That's where the name comes from. And so where something that might have happened in the past that's distressing and maybe is linked to objects that you own, and they're a safe space for you, maybe, um, we take away the distress that might have been caused in the first place. So there's no need to rely perhaps as much on things that are of sentimental value, and you can move on and do things that you're finding difficult to do at the moment. I talked about the electrochemical changes, so I'll move on from there. But the lovely thing is that once you've made a change, it's a permanent change, because we're actually changing things in the physical body. And again, I'll talk a little bit more about that, why that's the case in a moment. And as soon as we start applying the touch, we are effecting change already. So it's instantaneous. Now, you might not get instant loss of whatever distress you might have, but we're starting to work on it straight away. Some things are very clear-cut and simple, and they can be dealt with fairly quickly. Other things are a bit more complex, and they might take a little bit more time. So what I'm hoping as a minimum for all of you who are on this call today or who are looking at the video afterwards is that at least you'll feel a little bit lighter. As you do this more and more, and it becomes a more familiar tool to use, then you can go back to it time and time again and just use it for self-regulation effectively. You don't need to tell me any details about whatever it is that might have been distressing at some point. So havening, you don't have to disclose anything at all. If you don't feel like talking about it, you don't have to. And in fact, in this medium, I'm not going to ask you to. Okay. There is one exception. I'm going to have a demonstration later on, and somebody has volunteered already. I'm not 100% sure that that's a hoarding based situation. So I will ask if there's somebody who has specifically a hoarding situation that they'd like to work on. And you tell me as much as you feel comfortable. So I am looking for a demonstration volunteer soon. And but there's somebody who's already volunteered who I can go to, and I know that we can do a live demonstration. That's primarily what I want to do, to show the effect of havening straight away. So we'll come back to that in a moment. And as I hope to prove to you shortly, havening works really well online. It doesn't have to be applied in person in a room with a practitioner. You do need to work with a certified practitioner who knows what they're doing, but yeah, it works very, very well over the internet. And we've got university research that proves that now. Now, you might have noticed from my accent, I happen to be British, and all of the published data so far has been done by British universities. So there's 4 British universities that you can see listed there that are proven in one way or another, and I'll refer to a couple of these later on, proving that there is efficacy behind havening. It's not just dreamt up and, well, we think it works, and, let's have a go and maybe you'll get some benefit. We know if you apply havening appropriately, it does have efficacy. So talk more about that later as well. So you can see there with this lady, three basic types of Havening touch. So we've got the arms and shoulders, we've got the face, we've got the hands. We're trying to get our body back to homeostasis, so just normal, how we operate when we're feeling in a good place. We're just relaxed, we're able to cope with the pressures of day to day. And as you use Havening more and more, and some of the techniques I'm going to show you later, will help you to grow some resilience towards certain aspects of life. We call that neuroplasticity, so helping the brain develop new ways of coping and responding to situations. Hopefully you'll get some clarity around issues that might be there at the moment, and we can help to reduce some stress down and protect against some kind of future challenge that might come from a nasty experience. Briefly, a little bit of understanding about where this comes from. On the right-hand side of that photo there, this gentleman's called Dr. Ron Rudin, the writer, author of the book that you can see When the Past Is Always Present. Ron is a neuroscientist first, and he published this book in 2010 with some assistance by his twin brother Stephen on the left-hand side of that picture. Both of them are doctors, and Ron he did his PhD at Harvard in neuroscience, basically in organic chemistry in the brain to start with, and he was a neuroscientist first and foremost, then retrained as a GP, and he's retired recently as a GP after 40 years in practice, and his brother went down the dentistry route, so they're both doctors. But this book was what Ron came up with as far as his thinking about how traumatization is encoded, as we call it. Oops, sorry. And that was based on his understanding of how the brain works from all of his years of work in neuroscience, but also some of you may know the name of somebody called Paul McKenna. He's quite well known as a hypnotherapist around the world, and he's a personal friend of Ron Rudin's and introduced him to tapping. And if you don't know what tapping is, there's belief amongst people that work with tapping that you tap on certain meridian lines and it'll help, for example, get rid of phobias. And Ron was told this, applied the approach that Paul McKenna told him about, and was very surprised to find that it got rid of phobias. And that started basically a 10-year research quest to find out why on earth does that happen? Because that's weird. Tapping, how does it get rid of phobias? What's all that about? He didn't really buy into the meridian line thinking. He thought, no, it's something else. So anyway, that's a little bit of background. If anybody wants to ask any questions on that, I'll tell you more about that. But Havening is talked about there being no need for disclosure. That's great because it allows people to get help who don't want to talk about whatever it is that bothers them. It works over Zoom, as I talked about, and Zoom, because it's incredibly fast. So I'll hope to prove that to you in a moment. My mouse is doing funny things. I do apologize. It's jumping ahead a little bit there. The last point on that slide was that it's permanent as well. So because of that permanent change in the body, and I'll show you some graphics of that later on. That is Paul McKenna on the right-hand side of that picture. This first published study into Havening proved that Havening worked within an hour. So it was a small study, but people who couldn't work anymore in the healthcare arena, largely because of post-traumatic stress disorder, one application of Havening up to an hour, all implemented by Paul McKenna, and the results were pretty impressive. So there were 3 mental health measures that were taken, and improvements on all of those sustained 2 months later when they checked in again. So nice piece of research, but only a small piece of research. And what I'm going to show you now is just a quick summary of something else, the Cardiff Metropolitan University study, which came a little while later. And I'm just going to show you a few graphs, so don't worry if you can't read the writing. I'll point out what these actually say on them. So the 2 graphs at the top, they're blood pressure. The one bottom left is heart rate, and the one bottom right is cortisol. If you haven't heard of cortisol, it's generally known as the stress hormone. So look at the time points which are consistent on all 3 of these graphs. So the first graph is the application of Havening. The second time point is 24 hours later. The third time point is a month later. And that's really significant. And the reason it's significant is because, as you can see from all of the four graphs, even a month later, admittedly only a tiny, tiny change, but a month later, havening was still seeming to provide some kind of change. So these are very well regulated and put together studies. So if you want to look at that particular study or any of the studies, you can look at these online. They're all online to read through. So cue my incredible results flashing sign, because these are quite incredible. And this is why havening works. So I would ordinarily now introduce my video backup demonstration volunteer, but out of everybody that's on the call today, I know there is one person who's kindly volunteered, so I will come back to that individual in a moment. But from a hoarding point of view, is there anybody that has an issue? It will need to be somebody on the video, I'm afraid, as well. But is there somebody who, don't have to tell me the detail of it, but has some kind of relationship with items that they really don't need, they know they don't need to hang on to, but can't seem to let go of those. And I'm just wondering if there is somebody who would be willing to be a volunteer to work on that. And I'm trying to find somebody who has a situation that is the reason they feel uncomfortable about getting rid of items is a singular reason. So is there perhaps a key reason why something is of particular sentimental value, or people can't feel as though they can actually get rid of something? And again, you don't have to tell me the great detail, but I'm looking for something that is uncomfortable to think about and or to get rid of. And it's around one particular theme, one perhaps topic, one event that's happened. Is there anybody that would like to volunteer, or just ask the question to see if it's suitable? Um, Anybody, if you want to unmute yourselves, please feel free to do so. So anybody out there that, so I'm looking, Holly, Heather, Kim, anybody that might like to volunteer
I
or even
can't
talk
be
about?
I can't be on camera, but I can answer your question.
Okay.
Uh,
Uh,
Um, yeah, just for me, I just think getting rid of it, it's like not having a place for it to be. You know, having it, I can't just throw it away. That's the hard part for me.
You can't store it away. Okay.
Right.
Okay. All right. Well, we may be able to come back to that and use that later on. So thank you for that. The reason I'm asking for the video to be on, and I know you've got problems with the video today, but is to see that somebody's applying the Haveling touch, because it's critical. Otherwise, it will not work. So that's the only reason I can't do that.
I
Kim,
can
you look as
volunteer if nobody wants to do it, but I've done this before, so I want to give somebody else the opportunity if they want to jump in. But if
yeah.
nobody else wants to do it, I can do it and I can give you a situation.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to find a situation, Kim, that is around the hoarding subject. So do you have something that might fit there?
Oh, definitely. I have
Okay.
many, but
Okay.
um one
And
of my
remember, you don't need
biggest,
to tell me the detail, but if you're
yeah,
happy explaining, then that's fine too.
I would be happy to explain it. This
Okay.
might be a little
Before we
triggering to, oh, go ahead.
okay, before we get into it, can I ask everybody
Yeah,
else just to turn their cameras off, please? Um, so it'll just look as though it's me and Kim on screen, and she'll have no distractions from anywhere else. And just get my little clipboard here. It's got that handy. So before we do anything, Kim, you know
hmm
the drill by now. We try to make
I
Haven
can back
as
up a little
comfortable.
too.
Yeah, we try and make Haven as comfortable as we can. So when we're doing distractions, we want to do nice distractions. So uh, tell me things that you love to do in your spare time.
I love to go hiking. I
Hmm.
love to paint.
Yep.
I like to go fishing.
Fishing we haven't talked about before. I know that, so that's something to work on. Okay. And things to avoid.
Toxic people.
Okay.
Um, things to avoid. I don't have very many triggers, I'm good.
Okay. Any phobias? Nothing like that. That if I inadvertently mention them, it'd be uncomfortable for you.
No.
No. Okay, great. All right. And uh, favorite place in the world?
Probably hiking in the woods near my house.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you.
Mhm.
So, Kim, do you want to just give me a headline of what you wanted to work on? What might be
Sure.
comfortable for you? Again, don't feel as though you need to tell me everything. Just tell me as much as you feel comfortable.
Yeah, and I talk about things all the time, so I'm comfortable with this. One of the areas in my home where I struggle is my bedroom,
Hmm.
which I had an altercation in there, and that is one of the areas where I first started to accumulate things in my home.
Okay.
And there's it's pretty much all clothing,
Okay.
and there's a lot of it. So I have basically built a barrier around my bed as protection.
Okay.
That's how I see it in my eyes. I feel safer and I feel more comfortable with that barrier because that was a place where I didn't feel safe. So for me, that is an issue. And I
Okay.
would love to work on that today.
Okay. And was the barrier created as a specific barrier to something in particular? You don't need to tell
Hmm.
me the detail,
Yeah.
but okay. All right. So, okay. Um, and I guess you're thinking about that now. So if you can really just concentrate on briefly on the distress that causes at the moment and tell me when you've connected because you don't need to stay there any longer than necessary.
Yes. Yeah. I'm there.
You're there. Okay. And on a scale of 0 to 10, where 10 is really awful and 0 it means nothing to you, what would be your number?
It's like a 7.
It's 7. Okay. All right. Well, let's move on then. So if you'd like to apply some Havening touch, whichever way you feel most comfortable, so whether that's arms and shoulders like that, or the face, or on the hands, and anybody who's linking into this specific thing of Kim's and you're triggered as well, then please follow on and apply touch as you do so as well. But Kim, we're going to go fishing. So yeah, tell me about your fishing. What do you fish for to start with?
I fly fish for trout. So I go to little streams in upstate New York.
Okay, nice. Okay, so and I imagine if you're upstate New York, these are going to be in lovely, beautiful settings, yeah.
Very much so.
Okay, so take me to one of the places where you like to fish, and is this in a boat or by the side of the river or?
No, you actually have waders on and you walk through the water and you're
Okay,
you're in the water while you're fishing generally.
okay, all right. So imagine that you're there now, and you're casting your line out, and tell me how you do it because I've never done it.
Well, they always say 10 and 2. So you go back to 10, shoot forward to 2, and then let your line shoot out.
Okay,
And it's a very frustrating sport when it doesn't go well, but very satisfying when it does go well. And
okay.
you're always in like the most beautiful places in the world.
Hmm. So describe your favorite place where you do fly fishing. What does it look like?
One of my favorite places to go when all of the tourists have gone is Salmon River.
Okay.
A lot of people come here.
So now the name Salmon River, do you fish for trout in that or do you fish for salmon?
No, you fish for salmon up
You
there,
fish for
but
salmon. Okay. All right. And so tell me what it looks like. If this is the most gorgeous place, so tell me why it's so gorgeous.
it is set up for fishermen and women, and there's beautiful lodges up there, and there's a whole community of people who enjoy fishing, and we have ladies groups that go up there, so that's really nice. And it's peaceful and it's beautiful, and they have eagles up there,
Hmm.
and it's just gorgeous.
Fantastic. And what would be a beautiful day? I mean, think of a beautiful day that you've been there before and describe what it looks like. If you were to be there now and you were scanning around, just looking around, describe the scene.
Well, fishing is the only thing I'm on time for. I was talking to you about how sometimes we're late.
Yeah.
I'm always on time. I enjoy fishing for a few hours and then we always pack a lunch and sit on the side of the stream and eat a delicious lunch and take a little break and then go back to fishing for a few more hours and then head home. So
Okay. And what do you put in your lunch?
usually something that's quite tasty because it's nice to have a, not just a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but something really tasty that packs well and some treats for the day, something
Uh-huh.
sweet
Yeah.
and something warm because the water's kind of chilly. So it's nice
Okay.
to drink something out of the thermos to warm your tummy.
Yeah. Okay. And so which part of New York State is this?
Upstate New York.
So I mean, forgive my ignorance here. So when you describe upstate, what does that mean? Is that near to the next state border or?
It's on, like there's the St. Lawrence River that goes
Okay.
above the top of New York State.
Hmm.
It's this whole area above like Syracuse and Utica. So towards the Adirondacks and all of that, we consider that upstate.
Okay, nice. And how does the landscape change as you move upstate? Is it hillier? Is it more wooded? How does it change?
There's a lot more woods and um, less city.
Okay. And less
A
people, I
lot of
think.
a lot of green. So
Yeah.
we all say that when we go other places, we miss the green. So
Hmm. Okay, so if it's really lovely and green there, I guess you've got lots of trees in that environment. Do you
yes,
know any of the trees that would be growing there, the types of trees?
lots of pine trees, maple trees.
Yeah.
Those are like the main trees that we have here.
Okay. And so the maple will drop then. Um, Pine will be there all year round. So what's it like in the fall? Have you got some beautiful colours coming in the fall?
Absolutely. And we
Yeah.
have people that we call the leaf peepers who come and look at all the beautiful fall colors up here. It's
You call them the
gorgeous.
leaf peepers.
The leaf peepers.
I'm going to remember that expression. Okay. All right. Sounds great. And what kind of shape, what kind of colours do you get from the different leaves? I'm imagining reds, but I may be wrong.
Red, yellow, orange. It's beautiful.
Hmm.
It's my favorite time of year. And today's the first chilly day we've had here, and everybody is excited because we know fall is coming.
Well, this early, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, not this early, but it's just exciting because we know it's around the corner. It's been so hot.
Okay. All right. So what temperatures have you got now?
I think it's about 70 today.
Okay.
It's rainy and cooler.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good. We're going to do something slightly different. We're going to take you on a slightly broader geographical journey, and I'm going to ask you to name a country beginning with D, please.
A country?
Hmm.
Oh no. This is going to be horrible.
Well, let's not do that then. It's going to
Denmark.
be horrible. Let's do something different.
I
Let's
struggled with the animals.
let. Don't worry. What we'll do is I'll ask you to name 10 towns or cities or counties in New York State.
Okay, we could try that.
Okay, so it doesn't matter what order, doesn't matter. Don't follow the alphabet. Just give me 10 towns. I'm gonna mark them off as you say them, so we know we've got to 10.
Okay, we'll do towns near me. Cheryl, Oneida, Verona, Canastota. Are you counting for me?
Yeah, I am. We're
Utica,
four already. Yeah.
Utica, Syracuse, Albany, Rochester. Um, let's see,
Got two to
where
go.
else? Um, Cooperstown,
Hmm.
Ithaca,
Well done. No, Oneida, is that Oneida?
Oneida. Yep, it's like the
Oneida.
Indians.
Right, okay. Because I was given a cutlery set many years ago, which was written that way. And I wonder if it was inspired by that, but I don't know. I don't
My
know.
family helped to start that business.
Oh,
So my
really?
ancestors, yeah,
Oh, how weird. How
yeah.
weird.
Small world.
Yeah, absolutely. That is quite strange.
That's a big part of my collecting stuff is from that community and that family. So that's been a
Wow.
part of my journey is letting go of some of that family stuff. So I've been
Okay.
donating it to a museum and
Right.
yep.
Well, how peculiar that should jump out at me. That's really
Hmm.
strange. And for anybody watching this, that was not planned at all. That really is quite strange. But okay, brilliant. All right, well, let's take a little pause. And if you want to just stop with the Havening Touch for a moment, and you thought back to a specific thing that happened that has led to you wanting to put the clothes around you as a kind of a barrier. And when you thought back to that previously, you were at a 7 out of 10, not a level of up to 10 distress, that's really high. If you go back to that now, are there any changes so far that you can?
Oh, definitely. I mean,
Good.
I'd say I'm at a 0 or a 1.
Oh, okay. That's good. We've only been going for about 9 minutes or so, something like that. So that's great. So 0 to 1. So there's a 1 there still. Okay, let's see if we can get rid of that. So if you start applying the Hagen touch again, and just just tell me your favorite types of ice cream. What flavors?
Chocolate,
Mm-hmm.
coffee, twist.
What's twist?
Twist is vanilla and chocolate mixed together into a little swirly pile.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. All right. What other ice creams do you like?
Oh, let's see. I like a chocolate dip. So my favorite's like a chocolate and vanilla twist with a chocolate dip. It's like a hard chocolate covering.
Okay. Fabulous. And anything particularly exotic that you like? Any weird and wonderful fruits that you've seen turned into ice cream?
I like raspberry
Hmm.
and um oh, what's that called? Orange creamsicle. I really like that in the summertime too. That's really good and
Okay.
refreshing.
Excellent.
And there's
Right.
an ice cream place right near my house a block away, so we go often.
Hmm. Very good. I was watching a cookery program the other day. Not that I do that a lot, but I was watching something and they made ice cream out of prickly pear.
Ooh, that sounds delicious.
Well, they were saying, "Oh, this is wonderful." So I can't remember trying prickly pear, if I'm honest. But yeah, I thought, well, if I ever get the chance, I'll have a go. And
That
this was in
sounds
Italy,
great.
and they were it was gelato ice cream, which is slightly different, certainly to what we get in the UK. Um, so yeah, it's something to try for the future anyway. All right,
Yes,
so
that sounds great.
yeah, yeah. So what if we take a little pause now? I'll ask you to go back to again whatever caused that original 7, and we went down to maybe a 1. So is any further shift, or is it not shifted?
No, I think it's better. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Good.
I would say I'm probably at a 0 right now.
Lovely. All right. Fantastic. So just to describe for the audience who might be thinking, well, it can't be that easy and it can't be that quick. Was there anywhere in your body where you felt some tension when we started?
Oh, definitely.
Mm.
I always hold it in my chest.
Okay.
Um, you probably saw me like breathe deeply in the beginning if you go back because I do hold my breath and I will feel most of my tension in my chest. So
Okay.
a lot of times I will hold my hand on my chest when I'm really struggling.
Hmm. And now, when you think about the issue that you brought to the table, how's your chest feel now?
I feel okay.
Yeah. So not as if you're having to hold your breath or any tension of any kind.
No, I feel settled. I feel
Good.
calm and settled.
Okay. Fabulous. And that's what I was describing to the audience earlier. Often we have a somatic link to whatever the issue is. So, whether it's a headache or whether it's tension in the jaw or in the throat or the chest or the stomach or any other part of the body, they are intrinsically often linked. And when you get rid of the emotional distress, often the other thing will go as well.
Hmm.
Doesn't always, and there may be another reason why you've got a pain, but often they are interlinked, and it'll be lessened if it doesn't disappear. So another kind of byproduct, another benefit of doing the whole process. So I'm going to thank you first of all, Kim, for allowing me to do that, and
Thank you so much again.
it's my pleasure. As you know, I love doing it. So, and I'm going to ask everybody else to turn the cameras back on again, please. And
And
we
we have Dr. Chi Chow here. She joined. She had trouble with the payment link, so if we can, I sent her the link, and we can figure that out if
we'll
the
sort that out
payment
later,
didn't go
don't worry.
through. Yeah, we'll
Yeah,
we'll
but
figure
I
that out.
saw that she joined. I let her in when I saw it popped up on screen. So, um, Doctor, you're very welcome to turn your camera on if you can as well. Welcome. Hello. So, first of all, does anybody have any questions about what they saw or heard? Anything that was kind of, well, that sounds a bit weird. That can't be true, or anything similar. Um, so, any questions so far? If there aren't, that's fine, and I'll move on. But I just want to
I
make
can
sure that, yeah, Kim, go on.
I can give my own personal experience. The first time I took a class on this, I was like, "Oh, this is wonky," and I always joke about that word, and I say, "Oh, I'll try it," because Sophia and I both will try basically anything once.
Okay.
And I could not believe the difference in my whole body, mind, body. I would say, I wish I'd tested my blood pressure
Hmm.
and my heart rate and everything before I started this. And then I wish I tested it at the end because I could sense a humongous difference
Yeah,
in every part of my body after trying this the first time.
fabulous. And you, just to inform everybody else here who perhaps doesn't know this, but we met a couple of years ago, didn't we? When you came on
Yes.
one of
Yep.
my introductory sessions.
Yes, I
And
I met you a few years ago and I did one
yeah,
of the introduction classes
yeah,
and I
and the,
thought this is amazing and I dove deep into the research and I've
mhm.
been doing it ever since.
Okay. And we met again just what, 3, 4 weeks ago, something like that,
Hmm.
when you
Hmm.
came on for another introductory session, and we just struck up a conversation, and it came into being that why don't we do something to help people who have some issues, getting rid of stuff. And so that's where this all came from, just to inform people, give a bit of background. So what I'm going to do now, and thank you, Mark, by the way, for the offer of volunteering. um, I wasn't sure it's going to be around hoarding, and I really wanted to be something around hoarding. So forgive me that we couldn't come to you today. But we can all do some um, work a little bit later on, so we're going to do that. But let me give you some ways of preparing that. I'm just going through it. So just in case, I always have my backup volunteer here, Sean, who allows me to use his video. So we're not going to do that. But just a quick advert for in the future. Kim has come on one of these intros before and has volunteered to be a demo before, and that's all free of charge. I also do training, and people volunteer themselves to be a demonstration volunteer on training. This lady here, you can see on screen, is called Steph, and she very kindly volunteered. There's a video of what she thought of it on my YouTube channel if you want to look it up. But if that's of interest, then do let me know. But I want to give you not too much of the science, but just a little bit of an insight as to why Kim is feeling a little bit more comfortable now. So here we have really pared down, really, really simplified. Okay. So for any neuroscientists out there, you'll be thinking, well, that doesn't describe the amygdala and how it works, because we're stripping it right back. Okay. What you're seeing on the screen is representation of two neurons or two cells in the brain, in the amygdala, the emotional center of the brain. So where you've got those two blue neurons, uh, you might notice there's a tiny little gap between the two of them, and we call that a synapse. So that's why it says at the top, synapse potentiated by addition of receptors. So I'm going to show you in a moment when somebody is traumatized. Okay. And for sake of it being a simple example, we're isolating it just to noise and when somebody has been traumatized on a battlefield. Okay, because that's very easy to understand. So just to warn you, I'm going to play a loud bang shortly, which will simulate sort of gunfire on a battlefield. And you can imagine somebody who's been shot at, life or death situation, it's terrifying. And they're trying to get away and stay safe, not be killed, not be injured. And they might have seen their mates killed, injured, awful things witnessed at the time. So we're talking about a time of traumatization. So what I'm going to play now is that loud bang, and just, it's in slow motion, so hopefully you'll be able to see this okay. Just watch what happens, okay? So here's the loud bang. And effectively what we're showing here is there is an electrical signal that comes along that first neuron, the sort of first blue bit on the left-hand side. It travels along what we call the axon. And when the electrical signal gets to the end here, it turns into a chemical signal. We are electrochemical beings. That's how we function, sending signals around the body. So if I don't want to lift my hand, I'm sending an electrochemical signal to enable me to do that. Now, the neurotransmitters, which is just a fancy name for lots of chemicals, they are released once the electrical signal is finished. It turns into the chemical signal, and they go across the synapse. And if there are receptors there, they will send specific information about what to do. So perhaps have a particular emotion. To feel really upset might be one of those emotions. To have a change in stress hormones so that you feel really uncomfortable and on edge. And maybe a somatic response that, oh, I've got a tightness in my throat, or I've got a headache, or whatever some kind of change in the body might be. And there might even be another reaction like speeding up of heart rate and breathing, and also maybe even posture. You might duck down if you were being shot at, for example, things like that. And by the way, potentiated, if you're wondering what on earth is that word potentiated, potentiated is when the receptors are fixed to the membrane of this cell, so where those green receptors are. So they are now potentiated. And Havening originally was called amygdala depotentiation techniques. So aren't you glad we've shortened it to Havening? So much easier to say. So we'll come back to this diagram in a moment, but remember, we are setting up those receptors to receive information, and they are there for life. So the amygdala, the emotional center of the brain, is just very logical. It said, right, okay, there was something happened here which was horrible. I'm going to remember that. So anything like it, so any sensory input like the sound we just talked about, okay, you hear that sound, your body needs to jump down. You need to feel rubbish. You need to feel as though you're terrified and you want to run away, or whatever the emotion is that's linked to that and bodily response. So it's there to protect you, but sometimes it can be unhelpful. So at time of traumatization, we're working with gamma waves, which are very, very high frequency, up to 100 times per second. So that's the one at the very top there. And we have all 5 of these brain waves operating right now. One will probably be more dominant, and at the moment it's probably a beta wave. What we're working with in Havening are delta waves. So right down the bottom, really slow, calming, healing brainwaves. And they operate at up to 4 times per second. Not 100 frantic activities, it's just calming. And as adults, we really only experience delta waves in deep sleep. Not even when we're dreaming, it's deeper than that. So it's not REM, rapid eye movement, it's when we're deep sleep. And it's like the filing cabinets adjusting themselves overnight. It's sort of making sense of the day. It's detached awareness, it's healing, deep, deep sleep. Now, if any of you have been feeling a little bit sleepy doing this, that might be why, because we generate delta waves by doing the touch that I talked about. And that's why it's so critical that you do this during Havening, otherwise it will not work. So that provides the electrochemical change that I'm going to explain in a moment. So just a quick bit of background for you on the biology. So spot the difference here. You may notice, those keen-eyed amongst you, that there are no green receptors By the way, they're not really green, but for demonstration purposes, there are no green receptors here now because what we do with havening, this is post-havening, we take away the receptors. That's effectively what we do. So it's a biological chemic and through an electrochemical process, it's a biological change in our setup. So the process that we go through removes the receptors. If we still have a bit of an issue, we'll probably have a few receptors left, but our aim is to remove the receptors so we have no emotional link to it. And by the way, the emotional link, we talk about the automatic outflow on the right-hand side. So yes, we get rid of the emotion, but as Kim has demonstrated, we can get rid of a bodily feeling as well. So that may well disappear at the same time. No guarantees. It depends how it's all encoded at traumatization, or there might be pain for another reason. You might have been injured at some point, nothing to do with trauma. So what we're doing is blocking information to say, oh, you need to feel rubbish, you need to get away, and so on. So that's effectively what we do in havening, very, very simply and crudely put. So let's imagine most of the people on this call are going to be in the United States of America. 4th of July has a particular resonance for you guys. Very sad for us back in the UK, but hey, we got over it. Anyway, 4th of July, you set off fireworks to celebrate your liberation from those nasty British people. So um, somebody who used to be traumatized by hearing gunfire, they're not going to be very keen on fireworks. So they probably don't go to 4th of July celebrations, not willingly anyway. So let's imagine somebody who used to be in the US Army, was traumatized by gunfire, and they're sitting on their sofa at home watching a movie, and they hear a loud bang outside, or a series of them with fireworks going. So what do they do this time? Post-havening. Well, this time you get a reaction to it because here we go. I'm going to play the loud bang. Oh, wonder what that was. Rather than it's kind of oh. So there's still an electrochemical response because that's how we work. But there are no receptors there anymore. So it doesn't say, oh, you've got to run away from it. You've got to feel rubbish. So you're back to where you were before the traumatization happened in the first place. And that's the beauty of havening. So that's why it's permanent, because we remove the receptors. You don't have that response anymore. You just go back to where you were beforehand. So in essence, it's a very simple thing that happens, but there's a very complicated electrochemical process that's going on behind the scenes, which we don't have time to explain today. But that's the basics of it. And therefore we don't have a response to the triggers. And what might have been a horrible memory and was very vivid in, full technicolor, just sort of fades away. Often people say, oh, it's like it happened to somebody else, or it's it's just a faded picture. Or I was working with somebody this afternoon and they said it was just hazy and opaque or something like that. Kim, if I could ask you to unmute, when you think back to whatever it was that you were working on, is there any particular changes that you would categorize them as?
I was just thinking how I would describe it, and it's
Hmm.
almost like you've put a warm blanket around
Ah,
my fear and the scary feelings that I had from that event. So it's like I've heard it called like havening a soothing rain to a fire or whatever. I can't remember
yeah,
exactly how you described it before, but
yeah.
like you talk about the situation as like a fire or something that's
Hmm.
burning, and
Burning in the amygdala, that's the way I talk about it. Yeah, absolutely.
havening's like a soothing rain coming over that to help all of those feelings. And that's exactly how I feel. I feel like it's like a warm blanket around me.
Lovely. That's the first time I heard it called a warm blanket, but that's great. I like
You
that.
can steal that. I'll
I
let you.
will. I will. Thank you very much. So the effect on people, it does differ. Description of warm blanket from Kim. Other people will just not be able to remember any of the images at all. Hardly anything, kind of, well, I can't really visualize it anymore. Or it might be that any moving images that were there, people saying certain things or doing certain things just become I can't really remember. Can't. What did they say? How did they say it? Not too sure. So the context feels very different. Links to other things will get broken. And here's what you were just talking about, Kim. Cool, calming rain. So putting out fires in the amygdala, but also having is brilliant for watering the seeds of growth. So it's just a lovely approach. And that's all I'm going to say on that, because I want this to be a very practical event. So I like to get everybody involved, not just the demonstration volunteer who kindly offers to work with me. So what I want to ask you to do is just have a go and find which is your preferred way of applying Havening Touch. So we've got the three principal areas. So do you prefer to do the arms and the shoulders? Is that your preferred one? Or do you prefer to do the face? So remember, you can do various parts of the face, on the forehead, cheeks, under the eyes, or you can do the palms, whichever you feel most comfortable.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
I've heard that the face is more effective, that people find that to be like a higher level of healing. Is that true?
That's not strictly true, no. What
Oh,
is true is you
okay.
get more delta waves,
Okay.
but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get a better response. And when Ron was doing his research originally, it was found that as long as you had at least what we call 5 times resting rate of delta waves, then havening would happen.
Okay.
So, for example, guess what? These generate 5 times resting rate of delta waves. This does, off the top of my head, about 14 times average, 14 times resting rate. So resting rate is hardly anything at all. If you do this, you get 14 times the amount. And then you can generate maybe 60 times with the face. But some people just don't like the face being touched. Or if you just put your
Gotcha.
makeup on, you might not be good timing. Or um, for historical reasons, you might not like that.
Okay.
Some people don't like the hands. So it's whatever you find useful. So I'd like to make this very practical, and let's go back to the main topic and what we came to today with, and that's talk about holding on to possessions that people may, well, they understand that they perhaps don't need those possessions, but it's very hard to physically let go or use them in a different way. So what I'm going to ask you to do is, let's look at the next screen now. And I'd like you to apply whichever Havening Touch you feel comfortable applying. And this may not fit for everybody's case, but I'm going to try this one to start with, because it may hopefully fit a lot of people's cases. And I'm going to ask you to just say this out loud as you're applying Havening. So I love and respect the individual that is linked to my possessions that I'm holding on to. I love and respect the individual that is linked to my possessions that I'm holding on to. I love and respect the individual that is linked to my possessions that I'm holding on to. And you might want to change that phrase a little bit to suit your world. So feel free to change it. I'd like you to work on something whilst applying Havening Touch, which is, that's me touching the mouse again, sorry about that. So I love and respect the individual that's linked to my possessions that I'm holding on to, or it could be, I feel very comfortable with the possessions that I have. Maybe start there. I feel very comfortable with the possessions that I have. I feel okay with all these things in my house. I feel okay with all these things in my house. I feel okay keeping all those things in the garage. I feel okay with that pile of things in the attic. So wherever you have those things kept, or changing the words to something along the lines of, I'm happy with those things. So let's just try that first. So I'm happy with the things that I'm keeping. I'm happy with things that I'm keeping. I'm happy with the things that I'm holding on to. I'm okay with the things that I'm holding on to. Okay with the things I'm holding on to. So I'm going to take a little pause there and just invite any comments back from anybody after that, just to see, how do you feel after doing that? Does that make any difference? How does it feel? So Kim, you've unmuted.
I was just going to say it gets rid of a little bit of the shame and blame, even though it kind of doesn't feel true because not really okay with all the stuff. But, it's nice to give myself a break for a second and be like, it's okay, and I think that's part of the program I went to with Dr. Chow was self-compassion and giving ourselves, a little bit of grace.
Yeah, absolutely. So all we're doing here is we're generating a lot of feel-good chemicals and just relaxing a little bit about the current state that we're in. So we're running serotonin, we're running oxytocin, we're running GABA, we're running dopamine, amongst other things, but they are the key ones that make us feel a little bit more relaxed and comfortable. And so not everything is terrible about having possessions. So I just want to, reinforce that. Having a possession is not a bad thing. So let's just start from that point of view and just feel comfortable having some possessions. But our logical minds tell us, but I don't want perhaps all of those possessions, or I don't need everything that's there. And so let's see if we can move that forward a little bit. And I'm going to share my slides again, and hopefully you're seeing the slide okay. So the next one is we're going to try something slightly different. And my mouse will move forward. There we go. So let's try this one for size. So you apply Havening Touch again. And again, feel free to change the words, but the words I don't want you to change, please, are the first two. So what if? This is just a suggestion from me. What if I give myself permission to love and respect, and then you put in the name of any individual that's linked to? Could be you. Could be you if it's not a particular individual that you're thinking of, regardless of whether I have any objects. So what if I give myself permission to love and respect myself, regardless of whether I have any of these objects? So apply the Havening Touch as you do that, please, and just say it out loud and see how you get on with that. What if I give myself permission to love and respect myself, regardless of whether I have, and then you can put whatever you have. So whether it's blankets, as we talked about with Kim, or clothes, or whatever it might be. So what if I give myself permission to love and respect myself, regardless of whether I have these things? So just say it out loud and just see how you feel. What if I give myself permission to love and respect myself, regardless of whether I have those things? What if I feel love and respect for myself, regardless of whether I have those things? So you can just fine tune it a little bit as you see fit. And then you can start to, if you feel comfortable with the statement that you're making now, you can start to change it a little bit more. And maybe put something in there that you may not believe yet, but it's faintly optimistic. What if I could cope with less of these things? So try that one. What if I could cope with less of these things? Whatever those things are for you. And you can use the words, they might be clothes, as in Kim's case, or it could be photos, it could be ornaments. It could be motorbikes. It could be anything. So what if I could cope with less of these? What if I could live my life with less of these? What if I could feel more comfortable without having to have these things? What if I could feel more relaxed? What if I could feel more relaxed? You might not have to put these things or objects or motorbikes or clothes or whatever it is that's concerning for you. You might just say, what if I could feel more relaxed? What if I could feel more relaxed? What if I could feel more relaxed? Or what if I could feel however you want to feel? So think of how you'd like to feel. You may not believe that you can feel that way at this point in time. You don't have to. You don't have to believe it. But if you say out loud something that you'd perhaps like to get to, what if one day I didn't need all of these reminders? Something like that. But try that one for size. What if one day I didn't need all those reminders? Use your words. If my words fit, then that's great, but you'll probably have better words that suit you. So what if, start with what if. What if I didn't need these things any longer? What if I could just keep a few of my precious items? What if I could let go a little bit more? What if I could let go? What if I could let go of a few more things? What if I could feel more comfortable without these things? If it's something that's been inherited or reminds you of somebody that you've unfortunately lost, maybe you could get permission off that individual to allow you to let things go. What if you fill in the blank of that person, whoever that person is? What if, and I'll just go Auntie Joe, and I apologize if that means something to anybody out there, but in fact, I'll go with a very obscure name because that Joe might be sensitive. But let's go with Aladdin, because I don't think there'll be anybody called Aladdin, but I could be wrong. So apologies if there's somebody called Aladdin out there that's linked to this. But what if Aladdin allowed me to just let these things go? What if Aladdin was okay with me saying goodbye to all of these things? What if Aladdin just wanted me to keep one special memento? What if I could choose one of Aladdin's special things and be happy with that? What if I could just let it go? What if I could just let a few things go? What if I could let myself just have a normal looking place? What if I could let myself have how it used to be? What if I could have a bit of a tidier place? What if I clear some space? What if I could get my rooms back? What if I could invite my friends round? What if we got more places to sit down? What if I can entertain again? What if, and then you fill the gaps. So something that you'd like to happen, you're not sure it can at the moment, but that's okay. As you say these words, beginning with what if, you're not saying it's happening yet. What you're saying is that, yeah, it'd be nice if that happened, but I'm not sure if we're there yet. When you feel as though you are there, that's when you can go back to a statement about things. So, for example, what if I could let something go? What if I could let something go? What if I could let something go? Hopefully, at some point, you'll get to the point where you think, yeah, actually, I could let something go. So say it, but only when you feel it. Don't say it when you don't feel it, because your body will reject it. So, what if I could let something go? You feel comfortable with that. What if I could let something go? Well, yeah, I could let something go. So if you feel that you could let something go, say it and apply the Hoarding touch at the same time. So just like we confirmed that previously we're okay with things around the house, that they're nice reminders, comforters maybe. But equally, what if I don't need them? And I could create a bit more space around me and I could feel more comfortable in my home or my environment. Well, yeah, I could let a few things go. Yeah, I could let a few things go. Again, only if you feel it. So don't rush it. Start with what if statements. And when you get to a point where you think, oh, okay, yeah, perhaps I could, then say it out loud. Apply the Hoarding touch. I think I could get rid of something. I think I could get rid of something. So say out loud what you think you could do. I think I could get rid of something. And what you can start doing is start building a plan as to how you can do that. Start with what ifs. What if one day I could have a yard sale, for example, if that's appropriate? What if I could give some of my precious items to members of the family? What if I could give items to charity? What if I could sell them on eBay? And with the money raised, I'll buy a nice piece of jewellery that I'll keep round my neck, and that'll be a much nicer reminder of the person or the circumstance or whatever it might be. So giving yourself a few options. What if I get rid of all those old gold rings which I'm never going to wear? And not only do they bring back memories, but I never see them because they're locked away in a drawer and they're not doing anybody any good. And yeah, what if I sold them and with the money bought something really nice for myself? So a few options for you on that. Okay, I'm going to just take a pause there and just again get some feedback or any questions from anybody about how that works. Any questions? Any thoughts? Any changes? So
I felt like there was a little bit more room of possibility instead of
great.
just feeling the overwhelm of like it's too much to
Yeah.
say, oh, there's a space that there could be a change. I had
Yeah.
a question. When you did it, when we worked with Kim, it was a specific event,
Yes.
and this is more just the way
You can
things
do both,
are.
Heather. All right.
Okay.
So you've now got two forms of havening. All right. So if you do have a specific event, we call that surprise, surprise, event havening. Okay. So you go back to an unfortunate event and you bring it to mind. Basically, you bring it to mind, connect with it emotionally, but you don't have to stay there long because as soon as you've connected, that's the biological, we call it activation in havening. That's when the receptors pop up. Okay. Physically, in your amygdala, they actually appear and they start sending the signal. So if you don't activate them, we're not going to be able to work on it. So they have to be activated. You think about it, they're activated. As soon as they're activated, that's it. They will stay there in position for quite a period of time. Then you start applying Havening Touch. But as you start applying Havening Touch, you think of something really nice. Why not? Why not enjoy yourself? Hey, you know, think of, if you play sport, if you play tennis, for argument's sake, your best tennis match ever, or you just thrashed Billie Jean King on the court. Imagine playing Billie Jean King, whatever. Um, or taking a lovely walk. So it doesn't have to be in woods like with Kim or being by the river. It's what you like to do. So, if you love walking up mountains, go up a mountain. Imagine you're there and just bathe in that lovely feeling. Serotonin, oxytocin, dopamine, GABA, it's all rushing through your system. You'll feel nice, but in the background, we're getting rid of the receptors. So by the time you take a rest, because you can't do this forever, you get worn out eventually, So you take a rest when you feel like it. You think back to whatever it is that bothered you in the first place, and hopefully your what we call a subjective unit of distress, that number out of 10 has dropped. And then you might want to do that what if thing that we did. What if I can start a fresh chapter in my life? What if I can move forwards now? What if this is just the start of something lovely? And so you can start building possibilities in your mind. You're not saying it's happening yet, and that's okay. But as you do it more and more, eventually your body go, well, actually, you're giving me all this serotonin, all this dopamine, all this GABA and oxytocin, whilst I'm saying, what if it was like that? Well, actually, yeah, I feel as though it is all right. And then you move into more of an affirmative state of mind where, yeah, I think I can do this. You might start at, what if I could do this? What if I could reduce down the amount that I've got? And eventually, as you keep on going, you get to the point, well, yeah, I could. What if I could get rid of one thing? Just start with one thing. What if I could get rid of one thing? What if I could choose one thing? What if I could think of one thing that I wouldn't really miss that much? What if I could think of one thing that doesn't have too much sentimental value? What if I could do that this week? What if I could think of one thing this week? And your mind will start racing forwards and thinking, well, if I had to do it this week and I had to choose one thing, well, I'd choose that one. And so it starts working things out for you already. And you go, well, what if I did go for that picture? What if I just offered it around to friends, family, took it down the charity shop if nobody wants it? What if I said goodbye to it by the end of next week? And so you're putting a plan together. You're something practical that'll help you move forwards. And sometimes it'll be next week. Sometimes it'll be tomorrow. Sometimes it'll be now. But do it as you feel comfortable with it. Don't have anybody else dictate to you. Just, what if I give myself permission to let something go, one thing per week over the next year, and you've got 52 things to get rid of. So that might be the scale you go with. I don't think that will maintain momentum for much time because as you get used to it, you'll get more and more comfortable with it. And you'll think, do you know what? I said a year, I'm going to do it in 2 weeks. But maybe not. Maybe it'll take a year. Go at your own pace. Right. So yeah, but event havening, to come back to your original comment, it's the easiest, quickest, cleanest form of havening. And I've been doing this 11 years now. And when I do the intros, my intros, which normally last about an hour, I tend to do demonstrations within 10 minutes. And often the issue that was brought to the table has gone within 10 minutes. That's how fast it can be with event havening. With other forms of havening, they have different applications and different uses, and the thing to do is talk to a certified practitioner who knows how to use all those. There's basically about 12 different types of havening you can apply, and the practitioner knows how to do those in which order and so on and so forth. But you can do a lot yourself. So event havening, great. If you've got an event, work on it, bring it to mind, distract yourself, apply havening touch, and it'll help. The what if is also really, really powerful, but go at your own pace. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I'm just mindful of time, and do make sure that you ask any questions that you need to. But I'm going to go back to my screen and find the next slide. Just another alternative for you. What if I could just feel the love? And that's just very simple. What if I can just feel the love? And that might be a link to the possessions. It might be a link to the feelings that those possessions evoke. What if I can relax about the possessions I keep? Now, these are all things that I thought of before this session. So they might not fit exactly for you. They might fit perfectly. I hope they do. But make up your own ones. What if I can put a plan together to start to reduce the need for too many possessions. So again, it's very wordy, that one. You can reduce it down. What if I can put a plan together? Simple. Or what if I can get rid of stuff? What if I can lose the emotional attachment to that old piece of crockery that isn't doing anybody any favors over there? Or whatever the object might be, or whatever. So I'm just going to do a bit of a whistle-stop tour to allow you or enable you to do this at home. So the distractions, I'm going to go fairly quickly because this is all going to go on video anyway, so you'll be able to look at it in slower time if you need to. But these are some distractions that just work, but they might not work for you. So choose one that works for you. So it might be walking upstairs, downstairs, swimming. You know, imagine that you're swimming in the pool and but actually you're havening whilst you're thinking about swimming, collecting seashells, all of these different things. Playing with a pet dog, pet cat. You know, some of you may hate dogs or cats, so that's not going to work for you, but choose something that does work. If you can introduce some music and rhythm, that works really well with havening. If you feel like humming, you know, something simple like a nursery rhyme, or your favorite heavy metal track. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as you like it, that's okay. You can count forwards and backwards, in threes, in twos, in tens, whatever you want to do. Don't overstress yourself. When Kim mentioned earlier, oh, that would be terrible to do that, I quickly switched to something else, because the objective is not to put somebody under stress, it's to make them feel comfortable. And we use the alphabet frequently. So it could be you're going around your local supermarket, you're doing a local shop, and you think, oh, I'm making a chili con carne tonight. Okay, I need to get some kidney beans, and then I need some meat. Or if you're doing a veggie version, you need something as an alternative. I need some peppers, I need some rice, whatever. And there are loads here, just a few options for you, a few things to think about. So again, something that works for you. And develop something that works really well, that you feel lovely doing. It can be neutral, like numbers. Some people love numbers anyway, so it might not be neutral, but you know, something that works for you. Because we're just tying up working memory. That's all we're doing. And don't confuse it. The reason I asked Kim, is there anything I shouldn't mention that might be unhelpful? I'll give you a vivid example. I was working with a lady, and I'd worked with her on a couple of occasions, and she'd had this bench at the top of a hill that was very, very peaceful for her. So she imagined walking up to the bench at the top of the hill, looking at the view from the top of the hill, and that used to really calm her down, and she found that really lovely. We then started working on her relationship with her grandfather, who she'd loved very dearly and was very upset when he passed away. And suddenly that distraction wasn't working anymore. What she hadn't told me is that when she walked up to that hill and looked out, she always imagined her granddad being with her. So you can see how you don't want crossover, mixing. You know, we were trying to work on the relationship with the grandfather and take away the sting that was still felt by his loss. So avoid something that's going to confuse the two. So movement, hobbies, listing things, they all work really well. I've mentioned subjective unit of distress, so that's just so you know you're making progress. So that's very, very simple. And if you activate, I talked about that earlier, we calibrate with that number, the subjective unit of distress. You apply havening touch and distract yourself with that lovely thing, something you can really immerse yourself in. A guy this afternoon, he liked going down the gym. He liked playing squash. So that's what we did with him. And then from time to time, if you need a breather or you're just curious how you're getting on, check in with yourself, just stop the havening, touch, pause, activate again, go back to exactly where you started. Go exactly where you started. That's really important, otherwise you get a false reading. So go where you got the number from originally, go back to conjuring up how you created that, go back to it, and hopefully it's gone down. On rare occasions, it could go up. but that's rare, particularly with event having. It's very, very rare. But if it does go up, then just keep working. You've activated, keep working on it, and it'll come down eventually. And do a few rounds, whether it's walking on the beach, walking in a lovely garden. I worked with a lady at one time who didn't find anywhere peaceful and safe. Her only safe place was in a bed. So we had to imagine she was snuggled up under a duvet and she's all nice and cozy. So sometimes you might be limited, but a recipe is good. How do you make spaghetti bolognese? Well, I make it this way. Okay, work on that. You can throw in complicated maths equations if that works for you. Have a bit of fun with it. Just work on things that work for you. And that's the essence to it, really. And you can do this every day. Every day. So you can do it in the morning. What if I have a slightly better day today? Use that what if. What if I could get rid of one thing today, like I promised myself? What if I could get rid of one thing? And just schedule some time for yourself. Could be last thing at night. What if I get a great night's sleep tonight? What if I have a wonderful, uninterrupted sleep? Keep on saying that. And actually, as you do this, your body's going to think, oh, you're generating those delta waves you normally have in sleep. Perhaps you ought to go to sleep. So just try out a little bit of positivity. And that'll take you to a good place. So I've just noticed that we're coming up to time. Another lovely one, and I'll leave you with there's Paul McKenna on the left, and there's the genius Ron Rudin on the right. This is a lovely one too. If you can't think of anything particular, but you just want to downregulate a little bit, especially the last part of that sentence. I choose to feel safe, peaceful, and calm. And just say it in a really leisurely way. Apply the Havening touch. I choose to feel safe, peaceful, and calm. And that will downregulate you. It'll help. All right. So I'm going to invite any questions from anybody before we sign off. And yeah, anybody got any questions that I can answer? I hope I can answer anyway. Anybody got any questions anyway?
I have a question.
Sure.
Thanks so much for a great presentation.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
I do notice. What's up, Doc? Yeah, I had a course with self-compassion. That's when I first heard about I never heard of such a thing until I took a course with Dr. Child. Okay, so I noticed that your questions, your say the mantras were posed as questions instead of statements, like what if?
Mhm.
And I'm used to saying I am, like in my meditation class, they say it as if it's already happened. I'm smart, I am successful, that sort of thing. Is it intentional to pose it as a question as you did?
Yes, it is. But you can use those affirmative statements as well. There's nothing wrong with that as long as you believe it.
Okay.
My issue with affirmations is when people say, I am strong, when they're not feeling strong at all.
Right.
Okay. So that will work adversely. It won't do you any good at all. So what if I could be strong? What if I could be strong? Might be better in that instance. What if I could be strong one day? What if I could get stronger? What if I could feel a little bit stronger tomorrow than I am today? What if I could feel a little bit stronger in an hour's time? What if I could just one day be the strongest person in our family? What if one day I could be able to deal with whatever life throws at me? What if one day I don't give a monkeys about anything? What if I'm just the most confident person in the world? And you sort of lead up to it. And when you feel the most confident person in the world, I am the most confident person in the world. And you can shift into that. But don't do it unless you feel it. So yeah, nothing wrong with affirmational statements, but it's got to resonate. And you could draw on past experiences that were really positive. So you know, I have been really good at this before, so I could do it again. That's perfectly okay. So I have been really strong before. I could be strong again. That's okay. If you've
One
been
more
strong
question.
before, that's great.
One more, I don't, I don't want to close the time, but one more quick question. I don't know if
Mhm.
in the research you've done, or if there's any research in regards to having, not actually physically doing it, but imagine yourself doing it. Because sometimes I'm so tired, and once I learned havening, I found myself havening myself to death without moving, and it still works for me. I don't know if
Yeah.
there's science behind it, but yeah, you don't feel like moving. You're on the bus, you're on the train. I'd be feeling myself up in my mind, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, Sophia, because I've been experimenting with that myself recently. Um, there's a lot of people find that it does work very well. But I can't promise you results. What I can promise you is that when you apply the touch, you generate the delta waves. I don't know if you're going to be able to do it just thinking about it by yourself. You might be able to. I don't know. I think that's a very individual thing. Um, and sometimes people won't have the imagination to do it. You clearly do. Um, and perhaps you can feel the positive benefits of all those lovely chemicals running through your system. But we know that we're generating the delta waves when we apply this. I can't guarantee that you're going to be able to do it when you think about it, but give it a go. If it works for you, great. That's the test, isn't it?
I do prefer the hands-on because it does soothe a lot of past trauma, past life trauma. So I do prefer that. But I tried it one day the other way, and it works just fine.
Good,
It's good. Just
good.
groovy. Thanks so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you for the question. So, I guess we need to be signing off shortly. So, any last questions that I can help anybody with?
Just a very quick one. I have a
Oh,
ton of questions, but this one should be quick.
we can take a few. That's okay.
It's okay. I'll probably try to contact you or join your training later
Okay.
to learn
All right.
more. Yeah.
All right.
This one is a quick one is to, do you do anything besides touch that's like breathing? And you mentioned movement as a distraction. The some movement for example, I noticed myself swaying
Yeah.
after doing this for a while.
Yeah.
So does it matter standing up or sitting down? What about breathing? This kind of.
I think it's a good question, and I'm going to be very honest with you. I don't honestly know the final answer, but I can give you some conjecture from me, and I can give you some experience that I've had, but I can't guarantee that's going to be your experience. Um, what we find with um, applying touch in different ways, some people obviously prefer one rather than the other. Some people do start to sway. Some people yawn. And that's a really curious one. A lot of the time, people start yawning when the sub level is dropping down. It's really curious. So people have different changes in the body, and it's unique to them. The way that trauma is encoded in somebody, the sensory input that was there, as you start to take away the sensory input that was triggers, that's going to change your body in a unique way. So maybe when, for example, when you were a child, the way you expressed happiness was going like that. And if we got rid of a barrier to happiness for somebody, but they were happy as a child, maybe that'll automatically come back. I don't know. It's complete guesswork on my part. But maybe there's something to that. And yeah, that's could talk about this all night actually. It's a really, really interesting question. But yeah, hopefully that gives you a little bit of an answer anyway. So something just popped up. Research states the movement is a healing mechanism. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
noticed
Yeah.
meditation, and even in my breath work, which is the sky breath meditation practice that I do, I found myself like going side to side. So why the hell I couldn't stop moving? It was just and it was just soothing to me. So I just went with it. I just kept doing it, and then I did the research. It's part of like releasing trauma that's in our fascia and all jacked up in our cells. It's just fascinating to me. So
Okay.
Keep moving, Doc. Keep moving.
One
Yeah,
one thing
they
I can
rock.
say is I I do something called heart rate variability control, which sometimes I bring into havening as well, and that's a breathing technique. Very, very simply put, it's breathing in for a count of 5 and then breathing out for a count of 5. It's an unnatural breathing technique. It doesn't feel wonderfully comfortable, if I'm honest. You don't need to do it for very long. And if you do that with havening, that can be really helpful. And there are lots of breathing techniques out there. Somebody was talking to me yesterday about the box technique, and there are various techniques through yoga and various other practices that I know bring people benefit. So try it. See if it'll work for you. That's the key question. Kim, did you have a question, or was it saying we need to wrap up?
No, I was just going to talk about rocking and, and some of the somatic stuff that I do. They have, the hug like this and you rock back and forth and that's rocking is what you do to babies. So it's very comforting to a lot of
Yeah,
people.
yeah. And hammocks. If you have a hammock
Yeah.
and you sort of lie on a hammock, I don't know how many people have hammocks out there, but I've certainly tried that before now. It's to me, it's very pleasant. When I was talking with the guy earlier today, one of his distractions was swimming, and he was saying the weightlessness that you feel in the water. He said it's so soothing for me. Imagine going. Is it the Red Sea or the Dead Sea, where you just float on the top
Oh, the salt.
because
Yeah.
of all the salt? Yeah, and it's so if you can imagine that sort of environment, um, yeah, it may well be helpful. So. We probably better wrap up. But thank you ever so much, everybody, for coming along, and I hope you found that useful. What I will be doing is I will download the Zoom video. You're very welcome. Thank you. And that'll be made available to people that couldn't attend today. And for those that couldn't attend today, you'll get my email as well. So if you have any questions, and that applies to anybody who's on the call right now, if you have any questions, then feel free to email me. Jiying, if you're interested in the training, I would love to talk to you about the training. I love training practitioners who go out and do their own stuff and help people. So you'd be very, very welcome. Thank you for joining me, everybody, and look after yourselves. And amazing what a little bit of self-care can do. So
Thank you,
thank
everybody,
you,
for
Heather.
coming.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dee. I'm going to sign off and say goodbye and hopefully see you again soon. All the best, everybody. Take care.
Thanks for the invite, Kimmy.
You're welcome. Love
Take care.
you.
Bye-bye.